come to Earth. They're bent on destruction and world domination. This time, they just need a little help. But not writer, have to read. Knowing how unpredictable and frequently lethal Earth's population can be, the aliens studied world culture and decide on George Clooney as the most recognizable and loved face on Earth. They send George Clooney to every country, aiming for each culture's leader. But after a few miscalculations and misunderstandings, the very last alien, George Clooney, washes up in a pub in Sheffield, England, the night of Star Wars obsessed grad students are celebrating end of term. After the kids save our George from some welcome to England action by the local thugs, he tells them what he really needs is just a favor. And our characters are George Clooney. These are grad students. These are science grad students, but they're also obsessed with Star Wars. Lump, 28, male, wide, blubbering, flannel shirt, baggy pants, grandpa's army boots, computer expert. Striker, 28, male, hair like a brush, built like a mosquito, paleoanthropologist, and a secret Trekkie. Ruby, 28, English matron-to-be, resisting the inevitable with a spiky haircut, miniskirt, and ties. And the scene is the next after he gets beat up at the pub, Stryker takes him home to protect him. And the next day, they get back together at the bus stop, and our George has explained what's going on to Stryker. And there we are.
All right. Stryker bounces, frantic with news. Lump and Ruby walk up.
Yeah.
Ruby raises her eyebrows.
Oh, George's still with us then?
He's an alien.
Stryker makes that Vulcan salute with one hand, points at the sky with the other.
Space alien. Alien from space.
The other two do a fine British double take in that they continue to stare at Stryker and George Clooney. A bus pulls up. Stops. Nobody moves. The bus drives on. Stryker nudges George Clooney.
Tell him.
In a British accent so bad it would make the Queen say fuck.
RTO, chaps. I'll just be needing...
I told you, you don't have to talk like that.
George Clooney shrugs.
I need a favor.
A favor?
Why do movie star need a favor from the likes of us then?
Not use from space.
He shows his Vulcan salute to George Clooney.
Live, long, prosper.
George Clooney doesn't respond to Stryker.
A favor, you say?
I need to borrow a telescope.
Why would George Clooney need a telescope?
Not George Clooney. That's his disguise. Alien from space.
Oh, we don't have a telescope.
We do. I jodel.
That massive lot the other side of the peaks?
It won't take long.
Them like that are computerized and scheduled for every minute for years at a time.
Why do you need a telescope?
Stryker jumps up, practically dances around.
He needs to stand a gravitational pulse across space to push back a bulge from a black hole that's going to engulf his planet. And you know what happens if he doesn't.
British double take.
The universe turns inside out like a sock. The entire universe. Oh, it's brilliant.
How much more did you two drink last night?
Another bus pulls up.
Rubbish.
He gets on the bus. Ruby follows him. Interior bus day. Stryker drags George Clooney onto the bus. Stryker shows his bus card, reaches in a pocket for money to pay George's way.
I have your monetary currency.
George Clooney drops a coin in the change box. It makes an odd, heavy-sounding thump. The bus driver closes the door. Stryker and George Clooney find seats behind Ruby and Lump. Exterior, the Aegean Sea. Day. Flashback. Somewhere, kitty corner from Greece, the Aegean, blue as a clear sky, smooth as a virgin's thigh. George Clooney, wrapped in a white himation, appears atop the water and sinks like a 180-pound rock. He splashes and struggles for a bit, then down, down he goes. Because Atlantis is underwater now. Exterior, Ukraine. Day. George Clooney materializes wearing a fluffy fur coat and a Russian hat with ear flaps. He smiles and waves for a bit before he cooks from the inside out and crumples into a pile of ash at the foot of Chernobyl reactor number 4. Exterior, Buckingham Palace. Day. A spiked metal fence holds back the faithful as tourists appear at the home of the British royals. The crowd murmurs and points at windows. George Clooney, aiming for a gate, works his way through the crowd. He doesn't notice a skirmish forming behind him. 3 teenage boys point at George and nudge each other.
It is, I tell you.
All 3 push their way closer to the fence.
Nah, you're crazy.
I think it is, yeah.
It's Ben Affleck, isn't it?
The crowd shuffles to see where the boys point. They're pointing right at George Clooney, and too right if he doesn't look famous. The crowd surges, pushing and shoving to get close to the movie star. George is bumped. The crowd jostle him away from the fence.
Ben Affleck!
A girl screams. The crowd morphs into a many-legged, grasping, hysterical, movie star-seeking predator. They run at George. George realizes the crowd is after him. More voices call out.
Ben!
George runs for his life and ducks into a tube station. Interior, tube station, London, day. Commuters clog the passage, doggedly making their way somewhere else. George, a hair's breadth ahead of the fans, throws coins into a machine. Presses buttons, the machine spits out a ticket. George slams through the turnstile and pelts down the stairs, disappearing into the London underground. Exterior, the Uni, day. Back to present. Distinguished old building with a spare patch of green between walkways. Students mill about. Sitting on a bench, the 3 listen to George Clooney. George shrugs.
Ticket to the train station. First train was for Sheffield.
Ben Affleck. I don't see it.
None of it went as planned.
We tried the higher life forms, of course.
Higher life forms.
George Clooney smiles.
You don't think humans are the highest life form on Earth?
All 3 respond with, "Of course we do," look, which makes George Clooney laugh, which results in 3 identical hurt expressions. George wipes that grin right off his face. Exterior, middle of the Pacific Ocean, day, flashback. George Clooney, wearing a one-piece silver spacesuit and a helmet that seems made of tinfoil, stands in a small rowboat and leans over the side and speaks to the ocean.
Greetings, Earthlings.
One large eye blinks up at him just below the surface. George Clooney's rowboat is in the middle of a pod of whales.
We need a favor, Earthlings.
Exterior, ocean around the boat, day. The whales rise and breach. The rowboat shifts gently in their wake. George Clooney leans over and in his best interpretation of a whale song, screeches his request. The whales breach and dive. The rowboat rocks and spins in a shaky circle, and the whales are gone. He's just not good with accents.